we have a quorum, so we're going to start. So welcome to the Rules Committee. It is about 11:07 on Wednesday, January 18th. I'd first like to welcome members to our first committee meeting. We will be holding these periodically as different items come up. I believe Ms. Stengel is on her way, so we'll welcome her when she gets here as the new Director of Senate Council Research and Analysis and the Council for the Rules Committee. I know we all know each other, but for the record, I'd like to go around the room and briefly introduce members and staff. So I will start with Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, everybody. I'm Nick Frentz from Senate District 18. That's generally the Mankato area. I'm in my third term and my second go-round on the Rules Committee and looking forward to it.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Mark Johnson, Senate District 1, Northwest Minnesota. Also third term and second go-around on the Rules Committee.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth Johnston, and I'm the Executive Assistant for Leader Dietzick.
Carrie Dietzick, I represent Senate District 60, so it's basically the Minneapolis, around the Minneapolis campus of the University of Minnesota.
Good morning, Carly Moline, formerly the Executive Director of the Rules Committee, but commonly known as the Chief of Staff for the Senate DFL.
Ann Rest, Senate District 43 from New Hope.
Good morning, Bobby Joe Champion. I am the senator for Senate District 59, which is North Minneapolis to North Loop downtown and some of Northeast. You know, that was graciously given to me by Carrie Dietzick. so thank you so very much. It's my first time on Rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Warren Limmer. I represent the area of Maple Grove, most of Maple Grove, and west central Hennepin County.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. My name is Sen Murphy. I represent District 64 in the city of St. Paul, which is the westernmost part of the city of St. Paul. I'm in my second term in the Senate. This is my first term on this Rules Committee. I spent 10 years on rules in the other body. Thank you.
Justin Eichhorn, State Senator for District 6, Itasca, Cass, and Crow Wing Counties, Grand Rapids, in the beautiful Brainerd Lakes area. This is my third term. This, however, is my first time on the Rules Committee, so I'm excited to be a part of this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm Sen Marty, representing District 40, and that's from north of St. Paul, from Roseville up to about Blaine, and I've been on Rules before.
And then we have my LA over here, Abdi Hamid Badri. So you want to wave? And then we have our page, Margot. So thank you, everybody. So the first item we have on our agenda is adopting the Senate Subcommittee on Committees. This is a standing subcommittee under Rule 11.1. The members that will be on this committee are listed. They should be in your packet. The members were recommended by Senator Johnson and myself. There will be additional subcommittees that the Rules Committee will form at our next meeting. Right now we're starting with this one because we need to have them appoint members to the Legislative Commission on Pensions. So with that, Senator Rest, will you move the adoption of the subcommittee appointments?
Madam Chair, that's my motion.
Okay, any questions?
Madam Chair, do we have an opportunity to discuss?
Yep, I said any questions or not.
Okay.
Yep.
So just looking at the list here, I see you've got the two Republicans, myself and Senator Eichhorn on there. Could you talk a little bit about the history, maybe over the last 6 years, of that committee makeup? I thought the ratios, again, there might have been a little bit tighter between Democrat and Republican.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I was actually on the subcommittee on committees. I believe the last few years it has been Susan Kent and myself. So we had two members from that I'm aware of.
Okay. And then, Madam Chair, the Republican membership on that committee, that was 4 members, I believe, right?
I do not remember. We didn't meet that often, so I don't remember.
Because Madam Chair, I've got a list here, and so it was actually, in the last term, it was myself, Senator Limmer, and Senator Miller, along with an independent, Senator Bach, in that situation, too. So I just wanted to kind of, I see that we've got one more Democrat member on here than we did probably when the flip majority was there. So is there an opportunity to look at that and reassess that committee on committees at all? Or is this kind of the set?
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I would like to move this one today so that we can get the Pension Commission, because I do believe they want to meet. We can have another discussion. We have additional subcommittees, as I mentioned, coming up that we will need to appoint. I also think that on some of these, it is good to get I think we have a broad perspective here on this list on the subcommittees, and I think that, you and I will have discussions as we go forward on a lot of these people that we are appointing onto these committees. So,
Madam Chair?
thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Senator Rest.
Madam Chair, I think it might be helpful to understand the evolving history of this subcommittee in appointing members to commissions and so forth, and not just our own standing committees. And I think you'll notice in legislation, particularly within the last like 7 or 8 years, when a new commission or even a change, every time that happens now, it's not referred to the subcommittee on committees. The appointments are given to the minority leader or the majority leader rather than to a committee. And that's been evolving within the last decade. And you're going to see that again in some legislation involving those commissions coming up. And that was seen as being fairer and more representative to let the minority caucus choose their members and the majority caucus choose theirs. Now, there's some commissions and so forth and groups where it's an ex officio appointment. It's because you're the minority leader that you're on it, and you don't have to be appointed, for example. But I think we're going to see that more and more, and even some changes in legislation like the Legislative Audit Commission. The Subcommittee on Committees chooses the majority members, and the minority leader chooses the minority leader. And it should be the majority leader equal to the minority leader in making those appointments. So I would think not too far from now, we're going to see more balance between the appointments of members to those commissions. So, but we still need this committee now. So just an explanation. I think it's going to change. I certainly support the change.
Certainly.
Senator Johnson?
Yeah, one final question then. So on this subcommittee formation, because this is a subcategory of the Rules Committee, I assume we'll have jurisdiction over it. If we didn't adopt the structure today, will we be able, as a Rules Committee, to appoint those members for the Pension Committee?
No.
My understanding in discussion with council was no. We need to appoint this committee today to get them, and then have them meet to appoint the Pension Commission.
I renew my motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Thank you. Senator Rest renews her motion to appoint the subcommittee on committees. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion is adopted. The next item on the agenda is a committee resolution on staff stipends. This resolution is titled CR 004. It should be in your packet. So this resolution is providing one-time stipends for staff to be paid from basically January to June 2023, so over the course of the next 11 paychecks. We looked at it from a tiered looking at salary for tiered. So for staff members making less than $80,000, the stipend would be $2,500 spread out over those 6 months. Staff members making between $80,000 and up to $101,000 will get a $1,500 stipend, and staff members over $100,000, $101,000 will get a $1,000 stipend. We have done stipends in the past. Most recently, I believe it was a technology stipend during COVID. The cost is approximately $500,000, and that includes our portion of the payroll taxes, and this will come out of the carry forwards. Part of the reason why we are doing this is we have very dedicated staff, and like us, they don't necessarily do this for the money, but I believe they should also be adequately compensated. And during this time of transition where Republican members have had to, reduce staff, and some of their staff members were given a salary cut. And then in the DFL side, as we were trying to hire people, we found out we are not competitive. We had several people that we made offers to tell us that the salaries are just way too low. They could not afford to, as much as they wanted to work with us, they just could not afford to do that. And so this, they were getting more in the private sector and more in other government agencies. And so this is just it is just a bump of appreciation of what they do. And it is to help us going forward be at least a little more competitive while they're working. We will be having to look at redoing our budget for the next 2 years in this upcoming cycle right now, and so we can be looking at that going forward and having a bigger discussion on the floor. So any questions, members? Senator Frantz.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, members. I just want to throw my support for this particular resolution. I think the best argument is the competitiveness argument. The people want us to get staff that are not taking a financial hit by working here, and if we want to serve the people, I think you're going to have to get the best staff, and since we have the best staff, I think the pay increase is appropriate. We do that from time to time in rules. A good example would be the increase in the living expense stipend that was approved in December. I think that was felt by the majority on the Rules Committee to be appropriate, and I think this is too. So I'll be a yes vote on that resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to get a clarification on lines 9 through 11. After the period on line 9, it states, each stipend must be paid in equal installments, beginning with a pay period that starts in January and ending in June. Am I to interpret that the stipend dollar amount will be that amount every month? Or is it divided over the 6 months?
Thank you, Senator Limmer. My understanding, and I'll ask council to clarify this, but my understanding, and Mr. Bodnar is here and he worked on this, he can also help. My understanding is that they take the $2,500 and it is spread out over those 11 paychecks.
Okay. The only reason I bring that up is that it seems like $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,500 pursuant to the positions that they have seems like a small amount. And I know that maybe budget restrictions hold us to a particular dollar amount, but if I can follow up on Senator Francis' comments, we do have some very, very unique positions, positions that you just can't put an ad in the paper and think that you're going to get that type of a quality of a person, especially with the demands that we put on individuals. But I will certainly go along with the proposal, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Limmer. I agree that this is a very small amount. Especially in the range of $2,500 to $1,000, it is a small amount, but it is somewhat in line with what, at least the $2,500 is in line what this Rules Committee passed for members on the housing in December to get, for senators to get, that live outside of a certain margin. I think it's 50 miles. I call it outside of the 494 loop, that they get additional housing stipends, and so it's kind of along the lines of that amount is how we came to that. And then again, would like your input going forward as we look at the budget going forward for the next year. What is adequate to help get the staff, because I agree with you, you can't just put an ad in the paper and get good people. Senator Rest.
Thank you. I don't know if it's a question for the secretary or Ms. Stengel, but taking into consideration all the employees, partisan, nonpartisan, et cetera, what is the total cost of this resolution? Just so we have in mind what we're talking about for the next 5 months. Mr. Clark?
Senator Rest, it's approximately $500,000, but I believe Secretary Bodden has the exact amount if he wants to step forward and give us the exact amount.
Madam Chair and members, Senator Dietzick is correct. It's slightly less than $500,000, and I want to be careful to say this is an estimate and can't speak with exact new employees coming on board, and that number may change, but it's accurate to say it's slightly less than 500,000, give or take a few thousand.
And Madam Chair, just a follow-up.
Senator Rest.
Mr. Secretary, $500,000 out of a total employee compensation amount, just to get the feel for what that actually means.
Madam Chair and Senator Rest, I'm trying to understand. You're seeking the figure that represents the total amount the Senate spends for employee compensation in a year.
That's correct.
Well, you're putting me through my paces pretty quickly here.
Well,
I did.
500, excuse me, Madam Chair and Mr. Secretary, $500,000 on its face, not the numbers that are here, seems like a lot of money. So what's it relative to? And it could be ballpark, Mr. Secretary, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair and Senator Rest, I'm looking at the quarterly budget report that was produced yesterday. And working from that, I think the annual total for, and I'll defer, Ms. Myers is here as well, and she'd be the expert on these numbers, but the total amount for permanent salaries budgeted for 2023 for full-time permanent employees is about $15,742,000. That's the salary amount, and then there are additional amounts for benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Madam Chair, puts it in perspective.
Thank you. Any other questions? And I will, just so that people understand how we came up with where we split the amounts. So I asked Secretary Bodden and the fiscal staff, Betty Myers, to literally look at, because this is what I did not want was somebody that was making $1 amount to then with the bonus or a larger bonus jump over somebody else. So we looked where there were natural gaps in the salary structure. And so that's how we came up with below 80 and then between 80 and 101. And so we looked where there were natural gaps to have that, to put those tiers. So if there are no other questions, will Senator Frentz move Resolution CR 004-1?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That resolution is adopted. Thank you. And then the last item on our agenda is an amendment to the Minnesota Senate Nondiscrimination and Anti-Harassment Policy and Process. This amendment removes the requirement for a hearing or hearing process. As all of you probably remember, we've had many discussions on this policy, especially over the last year. When the work group, we hired an investigator that kind of looked over our policy and made some recommendations on the policy. And that investigator recommended that this hearing procedure be removed from our earlier policy. We had good discussions in the work group. I know we did here on the Rules Committee as well, and it was put back in. I have discussed this with Minority Leader Johnson. I know he wants to have a discussion with his caucus, and I think that is fair. So my plan is to lay this on the table, and then when we come back for a future hearing, future Rules Committee, then we will bring that back up. So before I do that, is there any question on any of this? Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I to understand that the leading section L is 1 through 6 on this page?
That is my understanding. It's the hearing procedure, correct? Yes. So that is the resolution, that an amendment that we'd like to bring up, but I know we want to have caucus discussions on that, so.
Yeah, Madam Chair, when one is going to negate, let's say, for example, number 4, legal counsel shall not be provided by the Senate for either party in a complaint. Does that mean that it would resort to the opposite of that the Senate would provide legal counsel or could provide legal counsel?
Thank you, Senator Limmer, for the question. So in this hearing procedure, I believe there is language, and we will double check that, but I believe there is language in that policy elsewhere that talks that the Senate counsel and that the Senate will provide counsel, legal counsel for either party. The Senate, it's laid out in the procedure where the Senate will be able to answer questions. Senate HR will answer specific questions and make sure everybody is on the same page, understanding the policies and procedures, but that we don't provide legal advice or legal counsel. This was put in here specifically for the hearing procedure to say that for this hearing procedure, legal counsel shall not be provided by the Senate. But as far as the rest of the policy, I think that is also laid out in the other policy.
Madam Chair, maybe I can broaden my concern. If Section L is omitted, do we have a alternative that would replace that? And I don't see it in our packet today. So just to get a good comparison of what we're doing and what we may maybe resorting back to something, could you, if that's true, could you provide us with the language that would replace Section L?
Thank you, Senator Limmer. So the hearing, the non-discrimination, anti-harassment policy is on the Senate website. It's about 40 pages, so we will make sure that you get a link to that. The policy that is set up right now, we have multiple paths that you could go on, and so when you report an incident, there is what we would call and I'm going to blank on the word, but there's kind of a, you can have a conversation with HR and they can have a conversation with the person. And then there is more of a formal investigation. There's also, in this case of the senators, there's that, you could do an ethics complaint. And so that is a hearing. So this process right here, this hearing procedure under L is not for senators. That would go under the ethics. So this is for other people. But there are multiple paths in that document that talks about when you make a complaint, you can have, depending on what it is and depending on what that person, makes the complaint about, they can decide to have more of a informal process where they can just talk to the person so they understood, or have HR talk to the person so they understood that whatever was said or did made them uncomfortable. And then there is more of a formal process where there is an investigation. So all of that is laid out in that 40-page document. This was an additional third piece that the investigator said, they don't do anyplace else. In her knowledge of the HR world, this was not something that was done anyplace else. In the investigator's recommendation, and I'm looking.
Number 12.
It's number 12. So they said that consider eliminating the right to a hearing and instead providing an administrative appeal as an added layer of due process. And so we do have that. You should have this document in your packet. Investigator's recommendations, it's number 12. Her reasoning, as she states on here, is of the numerous discrimination and harassment policies the investigator has worked with, this is the only one that gives parties the right to a hearing in lieu of an investigation. The prospect of a formal hearing would be intimidating and present a significant barrier to those who may otherwise report workplace concerns. Hearings are also costly, time-consuming, and an adversarial process tending to create more pain than healing. Investigations can better achieve the same degree of impartial fact-finding and appropriate resolution. In this case, it would have made little sense to hold a hearing, and that added to the confusion over whether the policy was even applied. So that's the recommendation of the investigator. In the work group, we had discussions and concern that this had a chilling effect. We did make sure that this additional appeals process is laid out in that harassment policy. So that is, again, why we are moving it forward is from my personal opinion is that this would have a chilling effect and it could also have a power imbalance. It doesn't involve senators, which we have that ethics complaint process. And so that was just for consideration. I think I have Senator Murphy and then Senator Marty.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate that explanation. And as I was listening to Senator Limmer's question and reviewing the documents and understanding that we're laying this on the table for today, it's clear to me that in order to come prepared to our next meeting, that I should review what is already present so that I understand what this would look like and how this will operate if we choose to act on the motion that is before us when we come back to our next meeting. So I appreciate the way that you explained that and where I can look to understand where the policy is already expressed, so I understand how this would work for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Marty.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Murphy. This was a real sore point. I think the working group did good work last year, but this was the one thing that stood out, and I think a lot of the members of the working group objected to this, keeping this in here. Again, we paid an investigator tens of thousands of bucks, and we weren't even able to see what the recommendations were, the full things. This is a summary of them. And this is one when a person who's an expert, we hired her because of her expertise in this, and she says she worked with numerous companies. We're the only one that's setting this up and calling it intimidating. I think it was a big mistake, so I'm really thrilled we're coming back, and I hope we will take it out.
Any other discussion? Thank you. So with that, Senator Rest, will you move to lay the resolution on the table?
That's my motion.
Thank you. Senator Rest moves to lay the motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Senator Marty.
Madam Chair, just a question for the next meeting, because I assume we're going to have one relatively soon to address this. But I just wanted to ask if, I think there's been some discussion about taking a look at the deferred compensation issue, and not deferred comp, the work without pay for the 5 hours every couple pay periods. And I think that's a fairness issue, and I really hope the committee will, I'm not sure if it's the full rules committee or where, but I hope we can look at that soon as well.
Thank you, Senator Marty, for the question. Back to this motion, and so I know HR is working on preparing trainings that are required on the non-discrimination, anti-harassment policy, and so that is why it would be helpful if we acted sooner and later on the motion that we just laid on the table. So I will follow up with Senator Johnson early next week to figure that out. And then Senator Marty, that was another item I was going to discuss with Senator Johnson. I have asked for some background information on the comp time procedure, and then we'll have that discussion with Senator Johnson, and then it'll bring up here or in whatever appropriate subcommittee is needed so that we can look at that. Any other questions, members? So thank you for your work today. Thank you for your attendance. And being no further business in front of this committee, we are adjourned.